Let me see. Oh, all right. I think getting a lot of people coming in now. All right, I think it is safe to get started. I started recording, so that should be good to go. But thank you everybody for joining the ICG meeting for the BRTB. And Happy New Year. Welcome. I'm Anna Marshall. I am an environmental planner at Baltimore Metropolitan Council, and I work on the air quality conformity here at for the BRTB and run the ICG meetings. And so thank you for joining. And before we get started, I think we should go around and everyone can introduce themselves. And we do have a new member from the BRTB, Brian Ulrich, who is taking over last year from Alex Rawls. So welcome, Brian. We're looking forward to working with you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure, yeah. I guess I'll just go down the list that I see. So Mohammed, you're first on my list.
I do attend occasionally BRTB meetings. I mean the BMC meetings.
Great, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Next I have Regina.
Good morning, Regina Aris with BMC staff.
Great. Next I have Keith.
Good morning, Keith Kacharik from BMC.
Thank you. Next I have Marcia.
Good morning, Marcia Ways, Department of the Environment, and Mohammed works with me on the modeling analysis for the conformity.
Great, thank you. Brian, you're next. You said hi, but go ahead.
Brian Ulrich, Anne Arundel County.
Great. Catherine. Catherine, can you hear me or? Okay. See in the chat. Oh, she can hear me. Hi, Catherine. Charles.
Charles Bear, Baltimore Metropolitan Council.
Okay. Roger. Roger's with MDE. Sophia.
Good morning, this is Sophia Cortazzo. I'm with MDOT.
Thank you. And Tim.
Sure. Tim Shepard, Maryland Department of Environment. I'm in the Mobile Sources Control Program, and I work with Mohammed and Marcia as well.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry for Catherine and Roger, your unmute button isn't working. That's strange. I wonder if there's an update or something. Oh, I also see Raman, we have a new employee at BMC. Hi.
And real quick, Anna, I'll add Roger and Catherine work in our planning program at Maryland Department of Environment. So they do a lot of work on the SIP and conformity work. I'll fill in for them on that.
Great, thank you. Okay, did I miss anybody? I don't think I got everyone. Great, okay. All right, so thank you. And just as a reminder, so we had our last meeting for BRTB ICG was in July at the Joint Tech Committee. And the minutes from that meeting were approved via email on July 21st, 2023. And they should be on our website if you want to go back and look. But the TIP, LRTP, and the conformity determination report were all approved by the federal partners in September and October. So that was good. And then Also, one item to add to the agenda that didn't make it on prior to putting it up was, so Tim Shepard's here from MDE, and he will be presenting about the advanced clean trucks regulation after we discuss about the methodology letter today. All right, so moving on to our second item on the agenda, we're going to discuss the draft. Oh, this says the conformity letter. I meant methodology letter, and we are going to take a look at that. And I shared that in the invite, so I hope everyone had a chance to review it. But can everyone see that on my computer?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I think the best way to do it is kind of just to run through. I'll scroll through, and I have a couple notes on my end that questions I wanted to clarify. And Marcia already made me aware of the change in address for MDE, so thank you. And luckily, this year is a little different because Resilience 2050, our LRTP, was approved last year. So this year, it's the same process, but for the 2025 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. And basically, so the introduction, go through, it's all the same from last year. However, I did update the using the 2023 motor vehicle emission budgets instead of the 2012 RFP budgets that we used in last year's conformity. And these motor vehicle emission budgets were approved and deemed adequate by EPA on August 18th, 2023. So I updated that wording for the new letter. And this is all should be the same. Does anyone have any comments on this section? Okay. Feel free to call out if you have any comments. Section 2 is the criteria and approach, and I updated here this chart to reflect the new 2023 motor vehicle emission budgets for the 2015 ozone standard. And we have the NOx tons per day and VOCs tons per day. And I just wanted to also confirm that the testing horizon years shouldn't change because we approved the plan from 2050. And so, Mohammed, did you have something to add?
No, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No problem.
And just a quick question. Do we need to do a 2023 horizon year?
I'm not sure. I know we did one last year because that was the year of the ozone season, but Catherine or anyone from MDE, if you could confirm that.
Not sure. I mean, it is an attainment year. We agreed to do it last year and we did it. I don't know if it's the norm to look at things like retroactively. I would also have to look into that. Because right now that's the only attainment, like possible attainment year. We don't have anything else like going on at the moment. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, to me, we're doing simulation on a year that we should have real world results of. That's all.
Okay, so I guess for now we can leave it in, but if something changes, Catherine, you just let me know. But all the other testing horizon years were the same as last year, the 2025, 2035, 2045, and then 2050, which is the full implementation of the long range transportation plan. Yeah, Catherine.
Hey, so Roger's in the office and he stopped by because he can't get his unmute button to work. But we were thinking to maybe keep 2023 just because we're going through this exceptional event progress or process now. And so if we go down the process of redesignation from non-attainment to attainment, we will need to update mobile budgets. So it might be better and just safer to keep 2023 if possible.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Getting another comment. Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. So that sounds good. Moving on to the travel demand modeling method. I checked with Charles and we're still going to be using the 2019 validation for this next round of conformity. And under mobile emission development. So I know that this is a question I have. I know that Moves 4 is the newest model available. And I wanted to check if we're going to be using Moves 3 or Moves 4 for this next round.
Well, Anna, it's Marcia, and I think as long as we're under the grace period, it's best to move forward with Moves 3 right now, since that's what both agencies are set up to run. Within our practices, every 3 years when MDE is required to do its periodic emissions inventory is when we update all of the registration and other kinds of data, fuel and temperature and all that kind of stuff. And we need MDOT to help us pull all that information together. So I'm thinking that, I'm okay with Moves 3 as long as it's still within that grace period allowed under the regulations. But what that does is next year it puts us on a very, very tight schedule to make sure that all of our Moves 4 processes are updated, and we usually have MDOT's help with that. So Charles, we'll just have to work closely with our little group again to make sure that we're ready to go and we've had information and time to take a look at all the runs and data that we need to with Moves 4.
Got it. Okay.
I don't know if it's anybody, Charles, if you disagree with me or Roger or anybody, please let me know.
No, I think you're right. From our perspective, I think, Moves 3 is fine. That's the best way to go. The only thing that would accelerate us adoption would be if MD was to develop a new SIP with Moves 4s, and that would shorten the grace period from our standpoint.
And Charles, we're going to be starting to work on it. We do have new I&M files that we're going to have to pull together and get over to you eventually. We did change our VEAP program in October and went to a 6 model year exemption. So we'll need to get you those files for future years, but we've already put out the request to get that done with our folks.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and Roger just sent a note saying that Moves 3 is okay for this round, but 4 may be needed. And I'm sorry, it just popped away. May be needed for redesignation.
Great. Okay. Yep. I see that in the chat. Great. Thank you, everybody. Okay. So that sounds good. So Moves 3 for now. And I will reflect all the discussion in the minutes for this meeting. Another part under here I wanted to check was about the vehicle miles traveled mix in the fleet registration data. The latest data that we used last year was from 2020, and I don't know if this has been updated.
No, those are a couple items that we're going to be updating for 2023 once we get the VMT data from state highways and everything. So right now we're going to need to stick with 2020, and then we'll update the entire process and modeling structure that we use with BMC for moves for next year.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Marcia. All right, moving on, the socioeconomic assumptions. This is also the same we'll be using as last year, which is the round 10 forecasts that were approved by the BRTB. And planning assumptions. We'll go through this process in ICG in April, where we determine whether the projects are exempt, non-exempt, and categorize them, looking at them all together. So that's to come, but that's what we're going to do for this section. And let's see, work tasks. So this is kind of just goes through the process of conformity and what we do. And really it would be updated in steps B through F if we had changed the horizon test years. But if we're keeping 2023 and all the other years are staying the same, then this chart should be good to go, but I will definitely review to make sure. And let's see, analysis, analytical results, some moderate area SIP, and yeah, and then we have the public review after ICG and the approves the exempt and non-exempt list, and the conformity document is released as a draft on the BMC website for 30 days. And then after BRTB approval in the end of July, hopefully all things go well, then we send out the report to our federal partners. But yeah, so that's kind of the whole letter. And it not as many updates as last year, so that's good. And does anyone else have any comments on it?
Anna, it's Marcia. I didn't have any comments on the letter itself, but I did on the attachment. Are you going to move on to that, or?
Oh, sure. Yep, I forgot to keep scrolling.
That's okay.
There we go.
Okay. Right here in this part of the schedule, you have April 8th list of projects and traffic demand modeling begins, which when I first read it, I thought gives me about 3 weeks to go ahead and get the modeling done. Then when you go to the next chart, you have an April 3rd date in there and something about results, which kind of conflicted with that. I think it was under H there, assess analytical results and present to ICG. So there seemed to be a little bit of a disconnect there.
Okay. Yes, I see what you mean.
Because we're probably, if we're doing even 4 years, but 5 years, definitely going to need 2-3 weeks to get, things done and done properly and make sure that we're coordinated with Charles and folks. So if you could just take a different look at that. And
sure. Yeah,
what
what might have happened is some of the dates might have gotten mixed up when switching from the 2023 to 2024 dates, but I'll take a look and make sure that it's all correct.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, if the modeling's in April, then I think the earliest would be May to actually do that. So anyway, thank you.
Okay. Yep. Okay. And yeah, I think a lot of this schedule under attachment 1 is the also corresponding with the tip. And so I'll make sure that, yeah, both schedules line up. But all right, any other comments? Okay, hearing none, thanks everybody for your input and review. Now I would like to, so just as a reminder, I'll make the revisions that we discussed today and have a final draft of this methodology letter ready to be reviewed and voted on for approval at the February ICG meeting. And then once that is approved by ICG, then I'll send it to the federal partners. And next up is, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Shepard, and he can talk to us about the Advanced Clean Truck Act, which became effective on Christmas Day, the 25th.
Thanks, Anna. Will you be able to share the presentation?
Yes, I can share for you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
As Anna said, most of you guys know me, Tim Shepard. I'm going to give a little overview of the Advanced Clean Truck Rule, or Advanced Clean Truck Program that Maryland adopted, a week and a half ago. Okay, next slide, please, Anna. Okay, so the Clean Truck Act of 2023 requires the department to adopt California's Advanced Clean Truck Program by the end of the calendar year, which was the calendar year for 2023. And just as a little reference, in Maryland, it was Senate Bill 224 and House Bill 230 that were the Advanced Clean Truck Rule, and that's what we worked off of for the adoption. That's what mandated us to do this. A little background. ACT is one of California's vehicle emission regulations. As most of you know, California is the only state authorized to set its own vehicle emission standards. Other than that, states are either required to follow California or federal program. Under Section 177 of the Clean Air Act, that is what allows states to adopt the California standard if they choose to do that instead of federal. And most of you know, California standards tend to be more strict than the federal requirement. The regulation will take effect from model year 2027. That can begin as early as January 2nd, 2026. So the Clean Air Act requires 2 model year lead time. We're adopting this through incorporation by reference, which is the same way we've adopted California's ACC or Advanced Clean Car 1 and 2 programs. Next slide, please. Thanks. What does it do? The Advanced Clean Truck Rule requires a growing percentage of medium and heavy duty vehicles sold to be zero emission vehicles. It covers vehicles with gross vehicle weight rating over 8,500 pounds. And basically this will cover class 2B through class 8 vehicles. It's important to note this is not a purchase requirement. It's a placement requirement. So basically the onus on this is on the manufacturers, and they're required to make an increasing amount of the vehicles that they put for sale in Maryland zero emission. Again, it does not require people to buy those vehicles, but it does require the manufacturers to put these for sale in the state. These ZEV sales are phased in. Now, I want to say it says phased in model year 2024. It's important to note that California started the program in 2024. Even though we are starting in 2027, we will be coming in the 3rd year of the program. So we do not start from the beginning like a 2024. We will come in at 2027. So that's why I included it like that. So the ZEV sales are phased in. For us, it will be model year 2027, and they increase through model year 2035, and then they remain constant thereafter. It's a different percentage based on weight class, and I'll get through that in the next slide. But just to let you know, this program runs basically, as I said, it starts for us in 2027, then it'll plateau out in 2035. It does include a similar banking, credit, and trading program as the light duty vehicles. So, for example, if manufacturers don't meet the requirements for ZEV vehicles, they can buy credits from a manufacturer that did meet the credits and has excess credits. MDE operates and manages this banking credit system, just to let you know. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the different percentages so you can kind of see how it's laid out. It's circled there to show that that's the year we will begin. As you can see, we come in, like I said, the program when it began in California in 2024 was at 5% up to 9%. Since we're coming in the third year, we will be coming in at a higher percentage, anywhere between 15 and 20%. So you can see what it's looking at is it adopts different percentages based on what it sees the implementation or phase-in period will be for different classes of vehicles. What we have seen in the marketplace right now is that the biggest penetration for zero-emission vehicles in this category is in, that 2B through 3. These are your Amazon delivery vans, your FedEx, your UPS. That's where we're seeing the highest penetration right now. So that's reflected in this, and that category of vehicle gets the highest percentage. So you can see that one plateaus out to 75% in 2035. And then your class 2B through 3 vehicles, which is pickup trucks and small vans, 55. And then your class 7 through 8 are your big interstate tractors. And they're going to plateau at 40% in 2035. Next slide, please. And this slide just kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about. When we talk about the different classes of vehicles, it gives you a little more of representation of what falls in, your class 2, class 3, class 4, and all that. So hopefully that helps give a little better idea of the program. Next slide, please. ZEV truck availability. This is obviously a big concern right now. We've heard it from the industry, and we've heard it from potential buyers about these vehicles being available. Again, based on a CalSTART report in 2019, there are 20 models available. That report has been updated, and right now it's showing 145 models to 165 by the end of 2023. We're working on validating that, but we are happy to see the growth in the market. It's going in the proper direction. So again, ZEV truck availability is going to be a big issue. If you're mandating that these trucks be placed, you have to make sure that they're actually being produced. Next slide, please. Purchase incentives. Under the federal IRA tax credit, vehicles can receive up to 30% of the vehicle price. So this is up to $40,000. Again, I want to actually put a disclaimer on this because I think, as most of you probably know, there are various caveats with the federal tax credit. So all vehicles might not qualify for that full $40,000. There's a lot of, production in the US and so forth. But if you do hit all those markers, you can get $40,000. In addition, Maryland has a program that covers 75% of the incremental cost. We only have $10 million a year for that program. The program begins implementation this year. That'll be under MEA. I know they're still working on the program. It has not yet been implemented, but what the chart on the right shows you is if the full tax credits and so forth can be achieved, it shows that you bring that cost parity significantly over to the left, which makes these vehicles much more affordable in the early stages. So incentives on these products are going to be key. They're very expensive right now. We're seeing, we're talking probably at least $300,000 a vehicle or so, all the way up to, $500,000 or $700,000. So these are not inexpensive vehicles. So it will be a little bit of a lift, and purchase incentives will be key in helping that. Next slide, please. So going from the Department of Environment angle, why are we doing this? Emissions, obviously. And as you can see, for greenhouse most of you know, Maryland has very aggressive greenhouse gas goals for 2031. So the on-road medium heavy duty sector is the 5th largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. You can see that they're highlighted in red. So we really have to target that sector if we're going to help fully meet the goal of achieving the 60% reduction by 2031. Next slide. And I think this one is actually a little more stressing why we need this program. I think there's a lot of talk of greenhouse gas emissions, and rightly so. But I think a lot of people seem to forget we are still in non-attainment in significant parts of Maryland for ground level ozone, which is basically NOx emissions, is the best way we can reduce that. And when you look at the chart, right now, medium heavy duty trucks are the largest single contributor to NOx emissions. So really, if we're going to meet both of our goals, our greenhouse gas goals and try and get in conformity for ground level ozone, we really do need to address the medium heavy duty sector. It's a key sector. So that's a really big push of why we're doing this and why other states are looking at this as well. Thanks. Next slide. So where are we at? Maryland adopted this under a new chapter, COMAR 261143. The new chapter covers implementing ACT regulations as well as the incorporation by reference documents. As it currently stands, we're proposing to allow the manufacturers to earn early compliance credits beginning with model year 2026. It helps encourage the manufacturers to get the vehicles in early and helps them ramp up to the new standards. We are considering increasing that to a 2-year or a 2-year credit. Other states have done that. Our original thinking was because we were coming in at least a year or 2 later than most states were to the program, we did not need that. But after a little more review, we're actually warming up to the idea of giving them the full 2 years. We believe that would probably make this an easier transition, particularly, like I said, it's a give and take. When you come in late, again, you don't have to adopt the program early, but when you come in late, you're coming in at that 3rd year standard, which is a big jump if you're coming in from 0 and all of a sudden you have to be at like 15% or so. So we are looking at changing that. That is something we'll review this year and make any changes towards the end of the calendar year. Next slide, please. So next steps, I sent this program to Anna last year. So this year is really last year. The regs were published on December 15th. And as Anna said, they were officially adopted on December 25th. And then what's our big priority for this year? It's the needs assessment and deployment plan. And I don't want to understate this because this is actually really, really significant in the program and could do a whole presentation on this alone. But under the ACT Act of 2023, it requires MDE working in conjunction with various state agencies that are listed there, MDOT, DGS, MEA, PSC, et cetera, to conduct a needs assessment. This needs assessment will target various things. It will look at both impact of this program on the grid and how the grid can handle that. Is the grid currently set up to handle the impact of having these vehicles switch over to electric? It'll look at the economic sides about infrastructure. How much infrastructure is needed? What will be the cost of that infrastructure? When can that infrastructure be fully implemented? The time frame for that. The vehicles, are these vehicles available? What are the costs of the vehicles? What's going to be the fiscal impact on Maryland businesses to adopt that? Now, based on the results of this needs assessment study, the law states that Maryland can choose to then delay the program. It does not give us a time frame. It doesn't say delay the program for up to 1 year or 2 years. It just says delay. So again, based on this needs assessment study, it is not a given that we will be actually adopting this program or implementing the program, in model year 2027. The plan is due, the needs assessment study is due December 1st of this calendar year. So we're in the early stages of starting the ball rolling on this study. We'll wrap it up in December, review it with the other agencies, and then work with legislators, and then a determination will be made. The law actually does not state also, again, really what process goes into determining a delay. So there's a little bit of vagueness in a lot of that. But anyway, the long and short is this needs assessment study that starts this year will be really key or pivotal in determining when we actually implement the program. As of right now, it'll be model year 2027, which, as I said, begins as early as January 2nd, 2026. So that's when the regs will become effective, and that's when we'll begin implementation. Next slide. That's it. I'm definitely open for questions. If I missed anything or if there's any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thanks. Anything?
Thank you. Yeah, anyone have any questions? I don't see anything in the chat.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to raise my hand. If I could ask a question, Tim.
Sure.
Anna is going to be the project manager for us on a task called electric vehicle charging hubs. And the purpose of this consultant task is to look at how individuals that own electric vehicles that live in high density areas, apartments, condos, row houses, what kinds of opportunities on the residential end would, I'm just thinking if you, as you do that needs assessment and you're more geared toward a different type of vehicle, but I don't know, maybe there's a way for Anna to get updates, work with you a little bit, because if there are community charging hubs, that will also have an impact on the electric grid.
Yeah, sure. And I know in addition to that, I believe PSC is in the process of doing a study on various electrification projects with the impact on the grid too. And they're looking at both light duty and medium heavy duty as well. So I think there's an opportunity, I think, for a lot of the agencies to kind of get on the same page, because I think there is a lot of overlap of studies going on possibly, or at least complementary studies. And I think if we kind of all keep each other alert, it can kind of maybe help make our workload a little easier and moving forward.
I support that. Thank you.
Sure. And Anna, I don't know if you participate. The ZVIC group meets now only quarterly, and that's kind of like a whole group of people surrounding the the electric industry, as far as it's made up of public and private entities to discuss ZEVs, etc. So that might be something to get on the list for, just to stay alert, because it kind of acts as a clearinghouse for activity going on in the state. So that might be something good.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I can send you that link over. Virginia Burke over at MDOT is the point person for that. And I can ask her to just send you something to get you on the list.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Sophia here. I'm not sure if you're on our distribution list yet, but if not, you could, I usually manage the distribution list for ZVIC, so you can send an email to Virginia or myself and I can get you on there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sophia.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Anna, it's Marcia. While we have Tim on the line too, I hadn't realized that it's been since July when the group got last together. So I just wanted to comment that, and in addition to the Advanced Clean Trucks rule, MDE did finalize the Advanced Clean Cars 2 program, and that regulation, it became effective in September. So we're pretty much on par with the California program on both the light duty and now the Advanced Clean Truck side. And I think Tim had been here before, probably over the last couple of years, talking about that program. We got delayed a year, but we did get it done last year.
Yeah, and if you want, I can always do a follow-up presentation on that. Long and short on that, we're under the current program right now through 2025, and there was a delay in getting some of the work done. So there is a gap year in 2026, and then we will begin implementation again for model year 2027 for light duty vehicles. And the significance of that program is that it does ultimately go to 100% in 2035. So theoretically, you can say that beginning in 2035, there'll be no internal combustion engines mainly sold in the state of Maryland. There's an allowance for plug-in hybrids, but in general, it phases out internal combustion engines for sales in Maryland by 2035. But I'd be glad to do a presentation on that if you want at a future meeting.
Thank you. Great. All right. Any other questions for Tim? Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Tim, so much for
Sure.
presenting.
No problem.
I'll stop sharing. All right. Next up on our agenda is member updates. So let me share the agenda again. So I'll just go down the list here and start with Brian for BRTB updates.
Okay. Let's see. I guess the conformity determination for the 24-27 TIP and Resilience 2050 was approved by EPA in September of 23. The TIP and the plan were approved by Federal Highway in October of 23. The most recent BRTB meeting was in December, and there were 2 TIP amendments approved. Both amendments were ferry boat upgrades. One was Annapolis Ferry, Electric Ferry pilot program, and the other was the Baltimore Ferry Service Improvement Project. So that's all I had.
Thanks, Brian. And next up with Catherine.
Hey, I don't think I have an update from the planning side of things. As mentioned today, we're going to get everything squared away to begin the conformity process. So I think that's all I have. Marcia, is there anything you want to add?
No, Catherine, I covered ours. The additional 3-year exemption under the VEEP program, so vehicles won't be tested until they're 6 years old, ACC2 and ACT. So thank you.
Sounds good.
Great. Next up, Sophia, MDOT.
Hi, I also don't have any major updates from the MDOT side, but I actually did quickly want to ask. I know there was some information going around about the RFP from BMC. I think this was about the charging hubs that we just talked about. Is there any update that you wanted to share on that one? Because I know maybe there were some happenings during this period of time that we didn't have any meetings.
Sure. Yeah. So that RFP was released in I guess right before Thanksgiving, and then proposals were due December 11th, and we went through the review process and picked our consultant, and we're starting the contract for that, and things should get going pretty soon. But it's a year-long contract, so it should be all happening within this calendar year. And yeah, basically we're going to be, BMC will work with the consultant and members from jurisdictions to decide on locations for potential charging hubs for people who live in high dense residential areas who might not have access to charging locations in their garage or private driveway. And then after we kind of find locations for these potential spots, looking at least one per jurisdiction, we are going to have more of focus area meetings and really hone in on recommendations and guidance for these jurisdictions to implement these charging hubs and discuss the challenges and other guidance to make this possible. And the consultant is going to work with us, BMC, as well as jurisdictions to really, find best practices.
Anna,
Okay.
mention what you said to the tech committee yesterday.
Oh, sure. So, yeah, so at tech committee yesterday, I was asking if for assistance in helping find steering committee members, because there will be a steering committee for this project. And so if you at Sophia or others on this call have input about people in either like zoning departments or sustainability or environmental departments in your different agencies that would be well equipped with electric vehicle charging knowledge to be on a steering committee, we are looking for that. And I can follow up with everybody here on the email, with an email to give more information about the project and what we're looking for. But there, throughout the year, we're looking at 3 steering committee meetings. So, and 4 focus area meetings. So there's going to be a lot of time to discuss all the findings and recommendations. And yeah, so I will follow up with email.
Okay, I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Sure. And I don't think we have anybody on the call from federal partners. So, so we can move on to the final section, which is other business. And before we head out today, I also wanted to mention about the new greenhouse gas performance measure that was released in the Federal Register on December 7th. It becomes effective January 8th of this year, right around the corner. And the new performance measure is part of the Transportation Performance Management Program. State DOTs are required to submit greenhouse gas reduction targets by February 1st, 2024. And MPOs are then required 180 days after state DOTs to submit their targets. And they can be the same as the state targets or different, but states have to show declining 2- and 4-year targets, where MPOs will just have to show declining 4-year targets. And it's really targeting the tailpipe CO2 emissions on the national highway system. And the base year for the first targets will be 2022. And BMC is coordinating with MDOT staff to see what they're doing and also get some more information from a presentation about the new measure at a future technical committee meeting. So yeah, more info to come on that, but those are my understanding and of the process. And so, and I'm sure there's more information on the FHWA website too, if anyone is interested. Does anyone else have anything else to share today? Okay, hearing none. So the next meeting for ICG will be a virtual meeting again on Wednesday, February 7th. And yeah, I think that's all we have for you today. And yeah, thanks for joining. And I hearing no other updates, safe to say that the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Have a good one.
Happy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year.
New Year.
You.